Blog Talk Radio.
Race fans, we got something special just for you. Listen in as Chris, Yellow Caution Flag Creighton, and Mr. DJ Sports are in the studio. The 110 Nation Race Chat Live exclusive, bringing you interviews from drivers, promoters, and crews of all types of racing. These are interviews you do not want to miss, so make sure you guys check it out.
All right. It's Monday. Chris, how are you doing tonight?
All right. I'm doing good, man. Getting ready to get crunk. Of course, I believe, this is, the Eldora 100 week, right? So looking forward to seeing race cars hit the track here at the end of the week and all. And, just, it's a big weekend of racing, man. How about you?
Oh, got some college football this last weekend. NFL starts next weekend. So looking forward to having some more topics on the 110 Nation Sports Show Wednesday nights. So looking forward to that. It's a beautiful time of the year. You got pretty much everything. You got baseball, playoffs right around the corner, college football, NFL football, NASCAR in the playoffs. We really can't ask for much more.
Man, I tell you, in July, it's like the end of the world. The only two things that's on, well, maybe three things: golf, racing, and baseball, right? But the moment you get into September, you got football, you got tennis, you got baseball going to the playoffs, you got racing in the playoffs, you got college football, hockey starts, basketball's right around the corner. It is our season, man. If you love sports, man, this is what it's all about.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Before we get our guest in the studio, we got Josh Dickens joining us tonight. Chris, go ahead and let them know what you guys got going on tomorrow night on the Race Chat Live, Facebook, everything, so we can get them over your guys' way.
Well, typically we would have a show every Tuesday night, and, of course, it's playoff season. But I believe tomorrow night's show may be put on hiatus. I've got prior commitments with my family to go see Gran Turismo with my kids. And so I think Taz Taylor has an event that he was trying to get to. So either we're going to bring the show on late, or we may just have to fill in another time day. But most of the time, Mr. CJ Sports, 99% of the time, 44 weeks out of the year, you're going to find Race Chat Live on Tuesday night where we talk all kinds of hot topics in racing. Generally, we still spend most of our time talking shit about NASCAR drivers, but we do not spend our time talking crap about drivers who are either trying to make their way through the ranks or still your weekly racer. Of course, we just say that comical, opinionated, everybody's got one, for the Cup drivers and all, which is typically what Race Chat is all about. Of course, we'll get into other discussions if need be, and I always start each show off with what really burns my gears or really grinds my gears and what really pisses me off. And, it's kind of just an opening rant every Tuesday night, but most of the time it's something that we can all sit back and think about. But, yeah, you can join us. It's not just me. It's me and Taz Taylor, the Tasmanian devil of the airwaves, also Ms. Lee Reed, who has been a long-time partner. As a matter of fact, been in 110 longer than me. And I've been here a good 10 years. Of course, the founder here in front of me, he's been around from day one. But Ms. Lee's about been around from day one. And so, it was this year we added her to the podcast. And she had been our production manager, kind of listening in and seeing how things would go and kind of giving us pointers. Well, we brought her on full time. Craig Moore had to step out and go do some grown-up things, so we brought her on board. And, man, it's just been an absolute wonderful year this year to have Miss Lee and her intelligence about racing on. each and every week. And, me, Taz, and Miss Lee, we have no problem giving our opinions. And if our opinions don't match each other, well, we're still friends. And a lot of times we don't agree with each other. As a matter of fact, it's kind of crazy on the nights that we do agree with each other. But now that's enough about Race Chat Live. We've got a new show that's being kicked off on Thursday nights, Jason McMillan, Mr. CJ Sports. And I'm trying to pull up the name. It's Racing. Goodness gracious, you'd think somebody help make it happen would have the name right here in front of me. But it's on Thursday night. It's 8 p.m. Eastern time, of course, is the start of it. I'm still flipping through messages. I'm trying to find it.
Safety to Success, Safety and Racing Podcast.
Yeah, try to spell that, right? When you're just then waking up after, 4 hours sleep. I think we made the link 3 different times last week because my spelling was god awful. But yeah, we're real excited about kicking Jared Hudson off. And, of course, he's been around the 110 Nation for a couple of years already. We brought him and one of his colleagues on with the show a couple of years ago, the Southern Dirt Track Report. And, it didn't get to stick around, but we got to keep an important piece to that, and that was Jared Hudson. So we're glad to launch that out on Thursday nights. But on Wednesday nights, Mr. CJ Sports, I believe you got some things going on, don't you? Y'all get a little bit more in-depth. We're kind of one topic. We're a one-trick pony. But now, on the other hand, you and Mario, y'all kind of bring the stuff, so to speak.
Yes, on Wednesday nights we cover a little bit of everything. I'm looking forward to this Wednesday night, wrapping up week 1, college football. Glad to finally have college football back, and prime time lived up to all expectations this weekend. Of course, we'll be talking about that and then giving our NFL predictions as the NFL season gets kicked off this Thursday night. So looking forward to talking some NFL, getting predictions, and ready for one hell of a weekend.
Prime time brings the storylines, and that's what we look for in racing on Race Chat Live. We love the storylines. There's been a lot of hot topics going on each and every week. Of course, we can't. The airwaves just hit today. Denny Hamlin signs a multi-year extension, not only with Joe Gibbs Racing, but also 23XI kicks it up, and they sign up after rumors of going to Ford. They will stick with Toyota. So that's a bargaining chip I think all of us like to use every now and then when you want to raise. You go get another job and you tell your boss, look, you can give me this, you can match this, and I'll stay here. But that's kind of I feel like what happened there. We'll have that discussion and a whole lot more on Race Chat Live. Y'all follow us every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern time. Do we have our guest in yet?
No, not quite yet. I expect him in the next 2 minutes. Make sure you guys also go over to www.the110nationsportsradionetwork.com. It's got all our videos, all our shows, all our blogs, show schedules, and all the links to where you can catch all our podcasts. If it be on iHeart, iTunes, Spotify, Amazon, YouTube, Google Podcasts. Podchasers, really, you name it. Anywhere you can listen to your podcast, we are there. Just search the 110 Nation. But if you go over to the website, that'll definitely take you there as well. So make sure you guys check that out as well.
Yeah, man, we covered a lot of ground in 8 minutes, my brother. I mean, that's what professionals do, though, right? We get it in there and get it done, son. Yeah. But, it's just amazing. It's amazing being able to be back on this podcast with you, Mr. CJ Sports, of course. It wasn't long ago, though it really was a long time ago, where it was me, you, and Steve Billmeyer. And, of course, you were my producer, and it was Racing with Big Sweat, and we got to talk to young drivers around the nation. Of course, those young drivers at the time were names like, Noah Gregson, Bubba Wallace, to name just a few. We can name some more. Hannah Newhouse. I mean, how about turning on the TV and seeing Hannah Newhouse, knowing that, look, we were interviewing her not that long ago as she was chasing a career of racing. It's just been an absolute amazing journey, and now here we are a few years later with the exclusive podcast. An exclusive, this is not very many, right? I mean, that's the whole point of exclusive. We're bringing something detailed to the listener. And I think, we all have our opinionated shows, and we all bring a little bit of hey and a little bit of ha to the table. This is the more serious side. This is the side where we sit down with guests, with potential superstars, of the future, and we get to pick their brains and pick their minds. Look, I mean, it was amazing last week. Well, this week I was watching, I believe it was Berlin or somewhere. It could have been Stafford. And Landon Lewis was racing. Like, we just had Landon Lewis on last week, and here he was racing with Keelan Harvick in a Legends car on Flow Racing. I mean, how cool was that?
Yeah. It was kind of like, and I know this is off sport, but kind of the same subject. Everybody getting all wrapped up into De La Hoya of the Cincinnati Reds or De La Cruz, and it was crazy because I got an opportunity the whole year before to go watch him in high Class A baseball play for the Dane Dragons, and having these young drivers on, these young athletes on, and to have an opportunity, when they're on those Saturdays and their Sundays and everybody's talking and where'd this guy come from or where'd this girl come from, and it's just like, we had a chance to sit down and get to know this person before this moment even happened. Like, it's just cool to be kind of there as it's happening.
Yeah, watching these kids grow and getting them involved, and then, interviewing them, or, like I said, Noah Gregson, Bubba Wallace, all these guys have made careers for themselves out of them. And then, of course, we talked to a lot as well, Mr. CJ Sports, that had a lot of radio talent, but didn't necessarily have the racing talent. But now I tell you what, one of those guys that we've had on here recently, Mason Diaz, and he's a name. Him and that Derek McGrew kid, those two have kind of stood out as like some all-stars that we've had on our program that we didn't know at the time was going to be as big as what they are. But Mason Diaz, he's really turned it on up there in the ARCA series and the other late model series that he races. I believe it's the Cars late model series that he's in. But seeing little Derek McGrew, who started out in Sportsman Mods, and now he's racing the Big Block Modifieds. Two guys who are on totally different career paths, right? But it's still amazing to see them as they're getting ready to grow. Well, it looks like I can shut up now. Our guest is in the building. Mr. CJ Sports, I'm going to turn it back over to you, man.
All right, I got Josh in the studio with us. Josh, how are you doing tonight?
Hey, I'm good. How are you?
Not too bad. Glad to be here. Glad to get an opportunity to sit down with you, get to know a little bit about you, get an opportunity for our listeners to get to know a little bit about you. So looking forward to this. Before we jump into this, I'd like to give you an opportunity to, plug any social media-wise, if it be Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, whatever you use to promote yourself, your racing. Also, any sponsors you want to throw out there to thank them before we get into this.
Yeah, so you can find me. My name is Josh RD20 on all social media platforms. Tiny Dreams Homes, they support me a lot.
RD. That's Josh RD20?
Yes, Josh RD20 on all social media platforms.
Okay. All right, so we can find that on Twitter. And let's make sure I've got that right. Josh Hardy. This is Chris, by the way. I'm co-host here with Mr. CJ Sports. Looking forward to talking to you here tonight. And, of course, the big thing is getting guys like you to, let us know where we can start following your page. And that way, it kind of helps the interview process as well. And those that are listening in can kind of jump right down to where you're at as well. So, Josh RD. I'm having a hard time with that. Josh That is RD?
Yeah, so Josh, JOSHRD, and then the number 20.
All right.
I'm more active
Josh
on
Doyle, no?
on Facebook and
Josh
Instagram.
Doyle. Yeah, okay. So that's going to be Josh Doyle? No, that's probably somebody out there. We'll find you on Instagram. So anyway, let's start this interview. Mr. CJ Sports, I'll give it back to you as we try to track his social media stuff down so we can get him a share there.
Josh, what got you into racing? What lit that fire up there that made you want to get into the sports and pursue a career in racing?
Yeah, actually, I grew up watching NASCAR with my dad, TV, and it's something that, I always like to watch on the weekends. I always loved Jeff Gordon, and eventually I got a little steering wheel and pedals that you connect to your desk and race on, and I got, immediately hooked. And then from there we went to a real simulator, and I ran that for a few months. That really got me all the way into it. And then we moved into go-karts, and then we moved into legend cars last year with Joe Ryan, race cars, and then this year late models.
I must be just like in a whole different world than the rest of the kids in the world, because never once, all those times I watched NASCAR with my father, ever thought, hey, I'm going to go race. This wasn't mine how just all that just escalated that quick, and it's something I would have never thought about. How hard was it for you to get into sport? How was your parents ready for you to be in the sport? Did you have to kind of beg and plead to get in, or were they already on board with this?
Yeah, so I, like I said, started off with the simulator, and once I got hooked and they saw that I was kind of, running good on there just on the online races, my dad decided, it would be a pretty cool idea for us to go out there and for one day back and to try it out. And he actually went out there, all of us, and I did really, really good in that too. So he decided to, keep going, try and take the next step. And then I ended up going to karting full time in my first year, and that went really, really good. So okay, let's go try on the next thing. We went to Legend Cars, and I won a national championship in my first year on road course, second in oval. So we really started, making gains and making progress, and now here we are, racing late models.
So wait a minute. So, I've always wondered this process, Mr. CJ Sports. Give me just a second here because I want to dig into what he just said. So the Legends, I've heard this before, that the Legends offer road course and oval racing. Is that where the split begins? Of course, you have drivers who are oval racers, who are stock car racers, but then also you've got the open-wheel drivers who go through kind of the similar developmental process, but somewhere or another you guys split off. Is the Legends where that actually kind of happens, where the divisions really start splitting, whether you're going to go open wheel racing versus stock car racing?
Yeah, I would definitely, I would say so. In my opinion, starting off with go karts, I was already a big road course guy. That's why I felt like I had that little bit of help when I got into Legends road courses, just having that background. But I would say, yeah, for sure, Legends is kind of like that final step before you decide, okay, am I going to go oval racing and go, stock car racing, which stock car racing now has a lot of road course racing too, but it's kind of like that deciding factor, you could say.
Okay.
How hard was the transition from going from the go-kart to the Legends to the late model? How much of a learning curve is it for drivers to go from one to the other?
Yeah, all of them are really, really different, cars, I guess you could say. Go-karts having no suspension, you feel a lot of it in your butt right off the ground. And then you move up to Legends, you have a little bit of suspension, but it's a short wheelbase. So they're just really, I guess you could say, spazzy cars and aggressive cars for the amount of, I guess, power to wheelbase ratio. So that was a pretty big change. And then going to late models, just having all that power under you, full wheelbase with a lot more, tire grip, right? The tires, the biggest difference that you could feel, just having that amount of tire on the actual asphalt surface. So I'd say that's the biggest difference. And the thing I probably struggled with most is, qualifying, going from Legend cars to late models, just because the driving style is just it's so incredibly different.
So Josh, let's bring it over this way real quick. So when I was, let's backtrack just a tad bit from what you were saying earlier. When I was 12 and 13 years old, I was begging my parents for $5 to go to the skating rink and maybe one of these remote control cars or possibly one of the cars that you put together in your bedroom. How in the world did you convince your parents to go buy you a race car? I mean, obviously you showed from the beginning that you could basically grow in the sport, right? But at what point in time did your parents sit down with you and really explain to you or work on the side of the financial obligations that racing brings? I mean, because that's the big jump right there. We can all dream about going and jumping in race cars. Financially, it's a heavy burden.
Yeah, so I do it, 14, and it wasn't something that we really talked about too much. It's just kind of something that we kind of went with. It's my dad does so much for me, and I'm super thankful that he believes in me and believes in what I'm capable of, and which is why he backs me as much as he does. So yeah, it's not really something we sat down and talked about. It's kind of just as we go, he just continues to back me and continues to push me forward.
What has it been like to be part of the Team Hornaday development team?
Yeah, Team Hornaday, I've been in it for a few months now, and it's been, awesome just having people like this and Ron that's been in sport for so long, and they're able to, Ron, he teaches us so much about driving race cars, whether it's, restarts, hitting your lines right, saving tires. He's taught me a lot, and it's something that I'm really thankful for. And then also Candace has done so much for me on the, on the racetrack and the outside of the racetrack things, just teaching me what it takes, be a race car driver and whatnot.
Yeah, my question for you, Josh, is what, we've had several of the drivers now that have come through the Ron Hornaday talent training school. What does that school actually consist of? Do you go hang out at Ron's place and you get to sit on the couch that maybe Kevin Harvick slept on, or is it a classroom type setting? What is your involvement with the Ron Hornaday school, and how do they mentor you?
Yeah, so whenever I'm over in North Carolina, I'm from Miami, but whenever I'm over in North Carolina, we're just around each other all the time, right? Whether it's the race shop or the racetrack or at the house. We're around each other a lot. Ron shows up to the racetrack with us a lot. And if you ever have any questions or anything like that, you could always call Ron or Candace, and they'll, be happy to help you. So it's more so just all the time thing. It's not, I would say, really a classroom setting. I would just say it's kind of like all the time. Whenever you need help, it's there for you.
Kind of similar to manufacturer OEM support, but it's more organizational. Is that correct?
Correct.
All right, back to you, Mr. CJ Sports.
How has the transition been for you this season, stepping up into these cars, and what is the goal for this season, for the 2023 season?
Yeah, so the transition was definitely it was definitely different, just getting into a full wheelbase car with a lot more power, a lot more, tire surface on the pavement. So it was, the goal of this season was really just to gain experience, right? Just being in it for my first year and going against these guys in the car store that have been racing for years and years and years and years. So what they say is that, seat time turns makes you into a better driver. So just trying to be in the car as much as possible and turn as many laps just to catch up with everyone else.
Now, you run in the same tracks, or are there different tracks involved as you keep moving up in the cars?
No, so in the cars tour, it's like a touring series. So there's about, I believe, 16 races or 18 races a year, and we go to around 14 different racetracks, I believe. So it's just different tracks just about every single week.
All right, Josh, this is a question. I'm coming with the heavy hitter here, Josh. Hold on, Mr. CJ Sports. What does a kid like you, what do you do to get your mind? So all of us have full-time jobs, and then we have hobbies and whatnot. And so the hobbies is just kind of the way to keep us off of our full-time jobs, the daily grind. Well, you have the hobby But what do you do outside of racing? How do you keep your mind reset? How do you stay rejuvenated? How do you stay focused? What is that outside thing that you do that's not racing, but it still kind of keeps you going?
Yeah, I would probably say fishing and hunting. You know, those are probably my two favorite things. I've grown up out on the boat with my dad fishing, so it's something that I've been hooked on my whole life. And then here recently, last year, I got into hunting and I killed my first buck, so now I'm really, really hooked.
Oh, wow. See, Vance, this guy's just like us. See, I mean, a race car driver is a human being, and it proves it right here. The guy loves to fish and to hunt. And I would wonder, I guess, are you going to invite Ron Hornaday hunting this year? I believe he's an avid hunter as well, correct?
Yeah, that's something, we look forward to doing.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's cool. Mr. CJ Sports.
Trying to think. Do I have anything else I want to throw in there? I believe I saw something about schooling. How is that going? Have you? I believe you're doing homeschooling now to be able to focus more on doing the race thing.
So it's something that we started last year. I went to my freshman year of high school in person, and I was missed days after days after days. So we decided this past year, sophomore year, that it would probably be a good idea to go to homeschool. And since then, it's been great. I'm just able to complete my work during the week while I'm not racing, and then whenever I have travel days or anything, there isn't really much of an interference. I just complete it whenever I have the time.
And so that
it's
opens
crazy.
up this question. Go ahead, Mr. CJ Sports.
I'm going to let you continue. I was going to say, it's just crazy how much of a different world we live in. Like the daughter, she homeschools as well. And it's just crazy how much we've changed where we have this option where we got the young athletes and just young people in general that are trying to better their future and do things to be able to work on a career, but also be able to do schooling at the same time and be able to knock them both out and be basically two places at the same time. So I know as much as people hate technology and these things, are just amazing because of technology, how much everybody can do and how they can further their education and further their career, be two places at once. And it just amazes me where we're at and how we're able to do this and just be able to still keep education important for what everybody's doing. Go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, Mr. CJ Sports. And look, I mean, that's the times that we're living in. Of course, when we were growing up, Mr. CJ Sports, it was get a part-time job, go to school, try to go to college. These days, there's opportunities created. Maybe it's the digital world. Maybe it's the technology. My 14-year-old son works for a major streaming company as a videographer. I could have never imagined at 14 years old working for a major streaming company, right, having a full-time, part-time job where on the weekends I make, a whole lot of money, right? I worked at Hardee's, for crying out loud, growing up. So it's definitely a different age. I mean, Josh, you're from Miami, Florida, correct?
Yes, correct.
So the family to get involved into the racing, they either have to send you up to North Carolina, they have to send you to these racetracks, or they have to follow along. This is a family effort, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Yeah, thankful to have my whole family backing me. They all support me, so it's great.
Right. And let's find out a little bit, because we're running out of time here, and I've got a very important question. I've noticed the paint schemes, and I noticed the number 20 has been consistent. As I found you on Instagram, and I'm looking through your Instagram stuff, has that what's the story behind the paint scheme? What's the story behind the number?
Yeah, so I would say behind the number, I always liked the number 2. That was originally my favorite number, and when I went in my first karting year, the number 2 was already taken, so I just decided to add a 0 to it, and we ended up sticking with the number 20. And the paint scheme is just, I'm good with whatever paint scheme as long as what I'm more worried about, as long as the car is fast, I'll run whatever.
Okay, so I have seen the black and the gold 20, but the one thing that has been relating, I guess, through all of it is the 20 car. So you like the number 2 and the number 0, and that's just kind of what happened. But who was your favorite driver growing up? You said you watched NASCAR. Who was it that you idolized?
Yeah, so I used to love Jeff Gordon. Everyone loved the number 24, and someone that I kind of love to watch. And then after he retired, I moved on to the Candyman, Kyle Busch. I just liked him just for his talent, you could say. I liked how he'd just go out there and just win.
You got to boo the bow. You have to boo the bow. Mr. CJ Sports. He's a fan. He's
Josh.
a fan. Look, we were at Talladega, and he won, and they didn't boo the guy. And I was like, wait a minute. How in the world did I live in a time where Kyle Busch won at Talladega and he wasn't getting booed? So I coined the phrase, you got to boo the bow. You have to. Even if you like the guy, you got to boo the bow. Because that's what Kyle Busch is to most of us. But it's been great talking to you, Josh. So we know that you got to like to get back to Mr. CJ Sports. You take it from here, sir.
I'm going to get you out of here, Josh. I appreciate you stopping by. I'm looking forward to hopefully getting you back again, catching up, see how the rest of the season goes. Before we get you out of here, I want to give you an opportunity to once again plug your social media, website, anything you want to put out there for the listeners to be able to follow you or keep up with your career, and any sponsors you want to throw out there real quick.
Yeah, so you could find me on JoshRD20 on all social media platforms, JoshRD20. And just really thanks to my family, Tiny Dream Homes, and Team Hornaday for everything that they do for me.
That's amazing, dude.
Josh,
good luck to you.
You have a yep.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, we look forward to seeing you on Flow Racing.
Thank you. Have a nice.
All right, Chris.
Well, I'm sorry. I feel like we're gonna have to come up with some way to flag each other, I guess, because I felt like we spent most of the evening trying to. But it's such a short period of time to have these guys, and like you and I could turn a 10-minute interview into an hour just because we like to talk. And so,
yeah.
And so, we're still trying to grasp it, listeners. If y'all are just now, tuning into the exclusive. We're still working this thing out. We want to get the most out of the 20 minutes that we have with these drivers. Anytime you're dealing with over 20 minutes, you're really just kind of talking over each other and bringing stuff to the table that's fit for other shows. This is an exclusive. We get down to the dirty, to the nitty-gritty right from the door. That way we can get these guys in and out of here, and they'll look forward to coming back and giving us another 20 minutes down the road. Because the one thing, we do this for fun and for a living and blah, blah, blah. But these guys, they're taking time out of their shops, away from their sponsors, and away from maybe their learning period to come onto this show. And so we have to respect that fact and not, bring a guy on and keep him on for an hour. So if you're enjoying the short interviews, we love it. We look forward to sharing this on all the platforms. Mr. CJ Sports, I know you got some things you want to say as well.
Make sure that you guys check out Race Chat Live tomorrow night right here on the 110 Nation Sports Radio Network, 8 o'clock. Well, it is tentatively this week. I'm sorry. I'm just so used to saying it. Normally on Tuesday night. Just check our Facebook. The 110 Nation Sports Show will be Wednesday night, 8 o'clock. And then Safety to Success, I believe was the name of it. Thursday night, 8 o'clock. Yeah, Safety to Success, Safety and Racing Podcast. Thursday night, 8 o'clock. Make sure you guys go over www.the110nationsportsradionetwork.com. Get all our blogs, our videos, show schedules, marketing partners, and all the platforms you guys can catch all the shows. I'm looking forward to being back here in the studio next Monday night with Chris. Anything else you want to throw out there, Chris?
Yeah, man, I know you heard me speak up there just a second ago because I had this moment where I was like back in Top Gun, and I'm sitting there with Maverick and Goose and all these, and so that's kind of how I envision this Ron Hornaday class, right? Like all these future bigwigs, all these future names sitting in a classroom, raising their hand, asking the Godfather, Mr. Ron Hornaday, Mr. Ron Hornaday, how many gallons of fuel are we going to pit for this weekend? So I'm sure how I envision it's not anywhere near how it actually goes on. But, hey, it was worth the ask, wasn't it?
Yeah.
All right.
Lord.
Let's get fun with the CJ Sports and look forward to next week. Do we have our guest lined up for next week? Do we know who it is?
I do not know as of yet.
All right. Well, let's make sure we get this shared over to YouTube with the bio and all that other stuff. A lot of people can listen to the interview. I think it was a great interview. I think we're moving forward. The first one was kind of crappy. The second one, I think we're just now getting used to each other. The third one was really good if we can stop talking over each other. Outside of that, it's been great. It's been fun. Mr. CJ Sports, look forward to your Wednesday night podcast. I hope you look forward to my Tuesday night podcast, and we'll all sit together and listen to Thursday night podcast. Until we meet again, good night.
Good night.